Hello everyone, Gomez here for the LanUp channel with the first ever custom card contest that I've run on here. Honestly, thank you so much to everyone who entered. It's amazing, like, the amount of cards that were put in there. Honestly, I was not expecting that amount, and thank you so much. There was so much creativity that went into some of these things. So if you want to check out all of the custom cards that were sent in for this contest, please check out on the Discord. The link is down below in the description and whatnot, where literally you should check these out because there were some really good ideas going on here. Sadly, I wasn't able to include every single one, but if your card is not shown in this video, I do apologize. There was just literally no time to be able to fit every single one in, but you all did an amazing job, and so I don't want you to feel discouraged by the fact that your card is not shown here, because there's going to be more of these contests in the future. So just get more in there and you potentially get your chance to win in the future. But by all means, let's get in and see those custom cards. So we are at the University of Piltover, the best place to judge cards and whatnot that are coming in, as this card will randomly give us some of these cards maybe in the future. So the first couple of cards are going to be honorable mentions. These are cards that have not won any of the third, second or third place prize money, but these are cards that were interesting and I wanted to talk about them, and they were really well designed. So as I said, if your card does not make it, do not feel discouraged. I do apologize, I just couldn't fit every single one in here. But let's get into the first card. I said honorable mentions is what these are. So the first card was from Finland's list, which was the red Brambleback. Now admittedly, the one thing I would say is this card doesn't really look like it belongs in Targon because of how far it is. It's more of a snow mountainy region. I don't know, maybe there's more justification for fire than what I'm thinking in my head, but to me, the look of this card didn't feel Targon to me. But what I did like about this is its last breath. Because you could always change the artwork, right? What I did like was summon a Crest of Cinders. Now, cinders. Now, one of these cards is crazy because they came up with two different things about what this Crest of Cinders could mean. One of them is crazy, and one of them is why I put this card in here. So, the two different options were the crazy first one, which is a countdown for one, grant your Nexus 5 maximum health, which to me, that meant that your Nexus could go up from 20 health to 25 health, because you're granting 5 health to the Nexus, which immediately, if you're running 3 copies of this card, potentially maximizing your Nexus to plus 15, and we're not even talking about any form of copy cards whereby you could copy this, or even get the countdown thing to happen twice with was it the Shurima card? Why is my mind not playing ball with me today? The Ancient Preparation. Well, no, Ancient Preparation Serum. My mind can't remember the name of the card. But the point is, the double, getting this effect double and making your core unbelievably unstoppable with the amount of heals that Targon possesses as well would just be ridiculous. And so this is not the reason why this card is here. The other reason is why the card is here for the idea of the Crest of Cinders, which is a countdown for 2, heal your Nexus and all allies by 3. I really like the feel of this because it was one of these cards which can kind of potentially synergize Soraka and Malphite, who are both in the same region, not really play together, but this is a card that can make them work because it has the heals and because it work in a good Soraka deck, its ability to be able to heal. What is really nice about this is it's a countdown for 2, which does actually give your opponent the ability to be able to deal, obviously, the idea of trying to build up as much of a board as possible and heal them up. Say that you were running the standard Tom Kent Soraka kind of deal, you'd be trying to go wide with all these things which are doing damage to themselves, but it is still a countdown for 2, so it's not as easy as at the end of the round, which it said the Star Spring would be healing everyone for 1, but this isn't getting its heal in for 2 rounds, so to me that made it fair, and I did like the idea of this because it would also be healing the Nexus as well, and it would be healing everything, so it's helping with that, but it is a landmark, so it's kind of helping with Malphite. So this is the reason why I really did like the design of this card, and so well played to Finland's list. Let's get into the next one. So this card I just had to include because it was one of those cards where it was so silly that I loved it so much. So it was the War Father's Call instead of War Mother's Call. I will put the name of the person next to this card. I do apologize, I just don't know how to pronounce your name. I'm so sorry that I don't know how to pronounce the name, because obviously I'd love to give you the credit like that, but I'll put the name up. But this card was just so good in terms of comedy wise that I had to include it in here. So War Father's Call, which is the Noxus version of War Mother's Call, and it is summoning a Legionnaire Marauder now and each start of round. So every start of round continuously getting a Legionnaire Marauder. The axe is in the background of that. Like, it just, everything just was so good with this. The idea of just like building a proper Legionnaire Marauder deck and the buffs that could happen. It would be a little bit too silly to be a real card because of how buff Legionnaire Marauders can get, and the fact that if you could get one every single round coming out would be a little bit too crazy. Even though this is 12 mana, it still is one of those cards whereby it would be a little bit crazy if this was a thing. But I loved it so much that I had to include it. I mean, it was to do with the Bearded Man. You gotta love a good Bearded Man card. So honestly, this really made me laugh. So thank you for designing this. So the next honourable mention is by Archangel. This was actually a really interesting concept because it wasn't a Legend of Runeterra concept at all. It was actually a concept around, was it Animal Crossing, I believe, and the character Isabelle. Now, they did actually, like, Archangel actually made a whole series of cards that were all to do with Animal Crossing and down this road. So many that I can't put all of them onto the screen right now. But what was interesting was the keyword, the new keyword which they came up with, which was invest. And the idea of invest was that at the end of the round, I store leftover mana gems. When the amount has been reached, activate the invest effect. So the idea is that cards would have a invest for like 4 or invest for 3 or whatever, and once you had sent that mana to them, you'd then get boom whatever the invest effect was. Now what was interesting to me about this was the fact that obviously it is a different way of using mana, a different way of utilizing mana, and a scary way of utilizing mana as well, because that is putting a unit on the board which is storing that mana for something, which means that, say that it was the invest for 5 and you'd put 3 mana into it or something, your opponent has got the ability to remove that from the board before the invest effect happens. And that is why I really like the idea of this card. And also invest happens at the end of the round, obviously, because it's leftover mana crystal, so you can potentially play something knowing that next turn you're just gonna like leave all your mana, because this is the thing, right? It's a gamble because of the fact that it is like all of your mana, because the way that I read this is it would store leftover mana gems, meaning that if you you wouldn't get spell mana. So if you had like 5 mana and 3 empty spell gem slots, you wouldn't get that spell gem slots because all the mana was going into a card. So that's the way that I read this. So basically what you want is for there to be a magnificent effect for the investment. You want your investment to pay off. This is the bit where this idea sadly falls down, because although Archangel came up with a really good concept, a lot of the ideas sadly did not meet up to what I like, what you kind of want to see. By that I mean like cards like these ones. So we had Tim and Tom. If you summon a, which like there was another card that I'm not going to show right now, but transform exchange into deal. If not, invest 5 creates an exchange in hand. So if you are having to invest 5 mana, so you're losing that tempo of not playing 5 mana or like across those turns, or not banking the spell mana, not like doing that. The idea of like using 5 mana and you get an exchange, which exchange is this one right at the very bottom here, which is target a card in hand and transform it into another one with the same type and the original cost. So the idea of basically changing a 2-cost for a 2-cost, like a 2-cost spell for a 2-cost spell, or a 2-cost follower for a 2-cost follower. Like, the problem with that kind of thing is that you've built your deck in a certain way, and so you don't really want those random cards. So you've just had to sacrifice like investing 5 mana, and then the effect that you're getting for doing that, getting this exchange card, even if it's 2 mana burst speed, is not really helping you out, because most of the time the cards that you've put in are the original cards that you want. What was interesting about this was Deal. Deal is, which it target a card in hand, so it's like a better exchange with target a card in hand, transform into a random card with which of the same type. So again, if it's a spell card, it turns into a spell card. If it's a follower card, it turns into a follower card. And 2 more its original cost. So basically what that's meaning is that a 3 mana card is going to turn to a 5 mana card. This is where it becomes slightly more interesting, is that a 2, which like, but even then that payoff is not good enough because it doesn't say on that card that it would cost the original. So it's not saying that you'd get a 5 mana card that it would still cost 3, or what it just says into a card that costs 2 more than the original thing, so just transforming. So that's where the investment things of these cards are sadly like not paying off as much. Like if Deal was a card which was say a card which costs 3 more, but it cost the original cost, so you're playing say a 9 mana card that costs 6, like there's slightly more thing in there, like why would you your time of investment has actually been worthwhile. Another example of this was these 2 cards, I believe. Yep, so this one is that if you have summoned a museum, create which a copy of each. I can't read this. Some of the writing is really hard to read with some of these cards. But basically what the thing is, if not, invest 5 to create a net. So yet again, 5 mana, having to invest 5 mana, not using 5 mana and putting it bang into this 4 mana card, which only has got 3 health, could be taken away from you with a culling strike or something to be able to get a net, which is sadly a 4 mana slow speed. It captures a unit and grants you it. So that is quite powerful, because what you want there to be a huge thing. So basically, this being fast speed and maybe costing 3 rather than 4, like the idea of, or even 2, like, is you want your investment to pay off, the time that you've done, like saving that mana into something whereby it could be killed. So that is the reason why, as I said, like, you know, this was a great concept, and I love the idea of invest, but maybe a little bit of tinkering around with some of those things just to make it so that what you are getting for that investment is actually worthwhile, because it's scary putting your mana out there on the board whereby it can be like destroyed very easily. So that's why you want those effects to be something which is going to be worth your time to invest. And so that's what I've got to say. But really good cards and really good concept. Like literally, I said go through all the cards because they made so many. They made a whole set of their own, basically, Archangel. So make sure you check that out in the Discord links. Let's get on to the next card. So another honorable mention is this one, which was by My Coxlong, which is actually Silas, I believe is how you say this name. And so a champion in the honorable mentions. I will say I like some aspects of this card and, like, you know, some things which I think could be improved, which is why this card did not end up getting into the top 3, because I like potentially with some tweaks this card could have got into the top 3. But let me explain my reasonings for this. So number 1, it's a 3 mana, which apparently when they level up goes up to 4 mana, which is slightly different than what other champions do anyway. But so this one is Challenger. When I see you cast a spell, deal 1 damage to the attacking enemy. When you strike an enemy, create a random Silas spell in hand, which was like all of these different things going on here. The one thing that I said, like, so the different spells range from dealing 3 damage to an enemy, and then at the end of the round doing 1 damage to the surrounding enemy, so the adjacent enemies to the one you did 3 damage to. There was Kingslayer, which had the ability of Silas strikes an enemy and heals for like the amount that he's done to them. So obviously for 3 he would be healing 3 damage, but also he's striking, so should get another spell, or should get, because it's every single time when you strike an enemy, create a thing, so like he should get another spell off of that. And also Abduct, which is Silas starts a 3 attack. So all of these things like are hitting in to be able to give you the ability to use 4 of these, which levels Silas up. Now the bit why I feel like there was maybe a slight bit of changing that could have been done with this champion is his level up, which like is a little bit hard to read, but at the round start they get a hijack in hand, and for each time that you use a spell, do 2 damage to an attacking enemy, I believe it says, and create a spell in hand, so again using one of these spells. But what I feel like this champion should have been, from his original standpoint, should have been making hijacks, like by using spells or every single time he strikes get a hijack, because hijack is actually what makes this card really interesting. So hijack is Silas captures an enemy and gains their stats and keywords for the round. So the idea of being able to hijack something, so you're gaining their stats and also their keywords, which, like I said, like when reading what Silas does with hijack has been like his main ability, like getting enemy champions like ultimates or whatnot. Like potentially what that should have been is at the beginning they get hijack and hijack activates as it does here, but maybe hijack doesn't give them the stats, it only gives them the keywords for the round, right? So it gives them, so you can capture a unit, because bearing in mind that capturing a unit means that that unit is inside of Silas and your opponent can kill him at any point and get that unit back. What I feel like it should be is once he levels up, so say this was hijack gains you, which it gains you their keywords for the round, or it gives you their keywords for the round, but you don't get stats and whatnot off of it, but you do get those keywords. I said he's got challenger, so getting something like quick attack with challenger, devastating, getting whatever the hell, like a regeneration for the round, because I believe regeneration happens at the end of the round, for a round is quite devastating. But I feel like his level up should be once he levels up, hijack then gives him the stats as well, so every single time that he hijacks he gains the stats and which it, but I feel like he should gain the keywords upon his level up, gain the keywords of everything captured inside him, so that every single time when you're using hijack you're capturing these cards, because bear in mind all it takes is one card to kill him, and that's all those cards that he's got inside him released. And so the idea of it then being like that's the concept I would have liked to have seen a little bit more around this champion, would have been that like when he levels up he gets all those keywords of all the cards that are inside him that have been hijacked into him, and then he can start gaining stats from their ability from who he's getting as well. I don't know what region he comes from, so like obviously this card has not been given a region, so it's hard for me to really judge which region. I should have really looked up, when I looked up what he does, I should have looked up what region he came from. But it's one of those things where that, like it just missed the mark a little bit for me. But I do like the idea of the hijack ability of getting keywords from units that you've captured. So that was my opinion on that one, and so like this was made it into the honorable mentions. But let's get in and get to the next one. So the last card to make it into the honorable mentions before we get into that top 3 and actual prizes and whatnot was this one by Shoya, which I like the idea of this. The concept of this card and the idea is very nice, and by that let me explain that. So yeah, again, 1 mana, remove scurvy, heal an ally for 1, and remove all negative statuses. Now this is a card where it's more about the removing negative statuses, which is why I like the idea of this card, because let's face it, with all the new cards coming, with the cards that we've got currently, something like this is needed, I believe. With cards when you've got like what's her face, Gift for Renekton, and her just like Merciless Hunter coming down, giving vulnerable to something. There's not much counterplay to that, and it's a devastating card. So something like this that can remove vulnerable. Whether or not this would also remove ephemeral, this could remove, like say if somebody does use the 7 mana card from Shurima, which reduces the it reduces your attack down, and also it's going to do 2 damage to you at the end of the round. Or if somebody quicksilvers you, if somebody uses silence, like they use a finisher, like the ability to be able to cure negative effects, like remove them, like potentially 1 mana might be a little bit too crazy for this kind of a thing, but I do like the concept of a card which removes negative status effects. Because bear in mind, with Prank being a new thing that's going to be entered into the game, so Prank, like something like this that could remove those negative statuses, would be a nice thing to see in the game. Don't know what region it would go into. I know that it went into Bilge War because of the banter of removing scurvy and like oranges with Gangplank. Like I get the Katana banter of where Shoya is going here with this, But I don't know whether or not Bilgewater would be the place where removing statuses would go. I don't know which region I would really class that in. My mind is thinking Targon, but Targon, I mean, admittedly, is an underplayed region right now, so maybe Targon might see it, which is like a benefit from a card like this. But I do think this kind of a card which removes negative statuses, like, as I said, vulnerable, ephemeral, any of those kinds of prank moves that are going to be coming out on top of you and whatnot, would be a nice thing to see in the game. So this is the last one of the honourable mentions. These cards were so close to making it into the top 3, so honestly, well done to everyone who was on the design of any of these cards. You did a fantastic job, and yet again, everyone, as if you didn't make it into any of these card finishes, just remember that, like, you did a fantastic job. So let's get into the top 3. So this card hits the 3rd place within these things. Now, this was actually connected to another champion, but I didn't think that this was the champion. So this was by Too Horny to Think. I don't think that the champion that they went with fit the champion in terms of what they did in Vimji, and the card was a little bit too overpowered. I could go into it if I showed you this, but this card I really did like the look of. I like the look of it so much, considering the fact with Senna joining the game, you could imagine this really being a Shadow Isles card, because this is where this was based, was in Shadow Isles, which was Last Rites, a 4-mana slow speed, which obviously with Senna would be fast speed, and obviously if Senna levels up would be free cost, which is deal 1 to 3 damage to an ally. Your choice. So yet again, it's the decisions that you get to make within this, because if a unit's gonna die, like Curse Keeper, boom, you throw the 3 damage in at them, because, you know, it doesn't, like, it fits really nicely in the region, which is what I like. Or if you didn't want to kill a unit, you'd also have that option as well. So this is one of these things whereby I like the versatility, but is summon a random follower from your regions of the same cost. And so the idea of use this with, like, maybe an Undying deck and, like, doing 3 damage to them, maybe getting another Undying, using it to do 2 damage, get another Curse Kit, but obviously it depends on what other regions you're pairing yourself with. I really liked the idea of this card, and that is the reason why, to me, this hit 3rd place. Now, I said, like, you know, it's one of those things, but this was connected to a few more cards that I feel like didn't quite hit. Like I said, the champion, to me, sadly, was a little bit too overpowered for what it did. Like, if you read what it could actually do, its ability would be overpowered in my opinion, but this card just hit very nicely. So well done there with Too Horny to Think. So I said, like, I should have really said at the beginning that 3rd place prize is 3rd place and 2nd place prize is going to be £5. So I'll be getting in contact with you very soon to be able to get your PayPal details so I can send the money over to you. And 1st place is going to be £10. So this is the first £5 win, and now let's get on and see 2nd place. So this one is 2nd place prize. Like, this is actually a champion card, got 2nd place prize. I really liked the design of this champion. It felt like the champion. I had to read up on them because I've never played this champion in League before, so I had to read up on them. But this one, Foom by X, which I probably got this name terribly wrong, but X-Lot Lord, I believe is the name. This champion was just like, I liked it because it felt right, it fit the region as well. So let's just quickly get in. I know this is a Void champion, but obviously the Void is not a region, so it's been put into Shurima, which obviously Rek'Sai got put into Shurima as well. But this champion, so Cho'Gath, I believe is how you say it. I do apologize if that is wrong, but this champion made sense to me on a design point, and that is when I'm summoned, or the round start, create a fleeting feast, and then so that kind of reminded me of Tom Kench. So we've already got a thing like this established, which is feast, an edit, which is Cho'Gath and an enemy unit strike off with each other. If the enemy dies, heal Cho'Gath by 2, which technically means by 3 because they've got Fury. So if they beat the unit that they're striking, they're going to go up by Fury by 3. So technically it is heal, but it's also getting another one from the one, which is the one that's coming off of the Fury. So that's already quite powerful. But what's nice about it is it fits the region, because the region obviously has got things like quicksand and whatnot, and the stuff that works with Renekton in terms of its there's like the other card which is exhaust, which is reduce the card by 2 health and whatnot. So there's certain combinations within this region which makes sense for this card to be a thing in terms of its feast mechanic. Slow speed, it is free mana as well, so it's like it's not too unfair in my opinion that you're forcing to use like free mana every single round. And it is feast for 4, which it is feast, so it's got to use that 4 times. Potentially, maybe that could come down to 3, but 4, which is where it's got on it. And when the Cho'Gath levels up, it is yet again they still keep making that feast at the start of the round. But if what they are feasting on has less health than Cho'Gath, it is boom, kills the unit instead. So I assume that just means it's an instant 3 mana kill if the unit is minus beneath what Cho'Gath's health is at the time, because bearing in mind that the health might have been taken down a little bit. There are cards within Shurima which could be helpful in terms of the Council, which I believe heals champions, which are like a champions and the Nexus 4 too. So there are cards which can help out, and that's why I liked it, is the fact that it fit the region that it was placed in as well. There was a lot of people who designed champions which are on the Discord, and I would say yet again have a look at them, because a lot of people did some really good jobs, but some of them really didn't seem to fit what the champion does in League, sadly, like in terms of like where its source materials. This one actually really felt like it fit. Obviously all of the artwork is from the spells which this champion can actually do, or the moves this champion can do, so I didn't feel like they fit. There was actually 3 people I believe who did Chin, whether his name is like Jin, I believe is his name, and there were some really interesting concepts. Some of them were overpowered, and some of them just didn't seem to like hit perfectly, but well done to everyone who did design. It's a really hard thing to get the design right, and I really felt this champion could fit in, which is why this got 2nd place. Its other abilities as well include its champion spell, which is stun an enemy, then deal 1 damage to, I assume, all other enemies. It doesn't, it just says like deal 1 to enemies, so I assume it's all other enemies. So yeah, again, that does fit with what that kind of ability does in the game. It's stunning a unit and then doing some damage elsewhere. The one thing I would say is this 8 mana one might need to be toned down slightly, and by that I mean because the ability does actually silence things, so I don't actually mind for 8 mana silencing everything on the opponent's field for the round. Maybe take away the 2 damage, so take away the 2 damage and this be an 8 mana burst speed to silence everything. Because bear in mind that Shurima already has the 7 mana card, which is reduce everything by 2 and then do 2 damage to it at the end of the round. So I think like maybe that might be a little bit overkill, but silence for 8 mana to silence everything on the opponent's side of the board, very devastating maneuver, and might be a little bit too overpowered, but that is still a big cost to play, and it is only for the round. So, and once this would be in the game, people would know it's a thing, so they would do their best to kind of try to play around it. But I really like the design of this character, like everything, all of these things seem to fit. And then when I went back and looked at what the champion actually does, I said it just fit very nicely. So well done, well deserved for 2nd place there. So GG's on that front. Let's get in and see what 1st place was. So now it's up to who has got that 1st place spot and winning that £10. This card, literally, I saw this, I had not seen what it was from, I saw where it was from, and I was like, yes, this hits on loads of different levels. This hits really nicely on a design standpoint. This hits very nicely on like the fact that it was like a recent thing that came out, and also like I could see this in the game. A lot of the cards that I was seeing, I was thinking, can I see this in the game? This card I massively could see in the game, and that's the reason why this gets the 1st place spot. Well done to everyone, by the way. Yet again, so if you didn't make it, I do apologize. You all did fantastic work, and I will be running more of these contests. So I said, please feel free to get involved more so in the future. But this card is the 1st place winner. Boom! The Cursed Barkeep, which came from the short that was to do, I believe, with Fresh joining Wild Rift or whatnot. So be quickly showing a little bit of that footage as we're talking around these things. So this fit in so nicely because it was a 3 mana 3/4. When I'm summoned or attack, deal 1 damage to a random unit, which is perfect for his Cursed Barkeeperness, because it's a random unit. It could hit your side of the board, or it could hit your opponent's side of the board. And the fact that this was in Noxus, which obviously is where the person originates from in the little video is it does say that it's based in Noxus. The 1 damage hitting in, helping out Swain, helping out if it's hitting your own units, helping out Vladimir. The idea of this in a Vladimir like Brom style Scargrounds deck, the idea of this hitting your own stuff, it made so much sense that admittedly I would say if I were to change this card around a little bit, I would say a when I'm summoned and at round start deal, would it round start or round end, deal 1 damage to a random unit rather than having the attack thing beyond there. That would be like my one criticism and changes that I'd have that as a round start mechanic, like I can't think of its name right now, the Freljord one who does 1 damage to everyone, the Ember Maiden, like that being a thing, because it's one of those things whereby it feels fair and balanced to me because it's doing 1 damage randomly. This could hit your side, this could hit your opponent's side, and yeah, I said it's helping out Swain if you were to go down a Swain route, but it's also said helping out Victor if you were going down that route with it. So it fits its region perfectly. It fits the little bit of lore that we know about this character from the short, that it's a curse that he's got that can hinder him and sometimes help him when it goes to grab the coin and whatnot. So that is why, to me, this was the perfect card that deserved to get first place, because it fit on so many different levels and got me on the entertainment value as well of this being a card. So that is my opinion. So like, there were so many people who posted it. As I said, check out the Discord down below, go into that custom cards. There were so many people who put cards in, and honestly, you all did a fantastic job. I do apologize if your cards did not make it either into the honorable mentions or into the top 3, but I've only had so much time to put a video out, and like, I didn't have time to go through literally every single one of them, but you all did an amazing job. And as I said, I was blown away by the response of how many people actually got involved, so thank you. I will be running these every now and again because I really feel like I want to foster the creativity of this in our community, of us trying out these different things and whatnot. As I said, I'm looking for cards that have got something interesting about them, because even the one by Archangel that was to do with a completely different game, Animal Crossing, had an interesting concept in the invest mechanic. It's just a shame that the cards didn't deliver on the invest mechanic, but I do like the idea of that thing. So just like ideas like that, and also I'm looking for ones which are hitting those champion things perfectly. As I said, the most done card in there was we had like 3 copies of Jin, and as I said, like, some really good moves. I felt like some of them were overpowered, and I felt that one just like it was just missing the mark a little bit for what I was expecting for that champion, which is why none of them sadly made it in the end, but they were very close. I'm not gonna lie, very close to making it at least into the honorable mention. So well done to everyone. And remember, obviously, shameless plug time, Twitch, Twitter, and Instagram. If you want to catch me live on Twitch playing the new cards on Wednesday, please feel free to. I said whereby on Wednesday evening I will be playing, as well as if you want to catch more of this content in terms of, like, I will be uploading all the stupid, crazy new ideas that I come up with as I build decks around the new cards. Make sure you subscribe if you haven't already. But thank you all so much. As I said, if you want to get involved in a custom card contest like this, join in that Discord, join the lovely community that we have there is the first starter, because I will be running more of these. You too could potentially win some small cash prizes and whatnot. So thank you all so much for watching. Hope you have a great day. Until next time, goodbye.
From flash of brilliance that could save me. Save me! That doesn't save me. Okay. Is there anything from you? Save me. That doesn't save me! Okay. Get rid of this and get rid of this. Find something that can save me.